We all know Leon as the monarch of the World Coronation series, the unbeatable champion of Galar. He's the man who climbed to the absolute top of the Pokémon world and basically dared anyone to try and knock him down. For the longest time though, no one could. He was the final boss, seemingly impossible wall of strategy and power. Then came Paldea, and with it a whole new breed of trainer. So enter Nemona, the champion-ranked Prodigy, whose raw talent is only matched by her hunger for battle. She doesn't just want to win, she wants a real challenge, a rival, a battle that pushes her and her Pokémon to their absolute limits. We saw Leon conquer the Masters 8 tournament. We saw him stand victorious in Winden Stadium. But what if a new challenger entered the ring? A challenger with a totally different battle philosophy, and a brand new power that Galar has never seen before. The question isn't just if they'd battle in this matchup, but who would be left standing when the dust finally settled. In this video, we're breaking down the teams, the strategies, and the hidden trump cards to answer the ultimate hypothetical question. In a 6-on-6, no-holds-barred Masters 8 final, could Nemona, the rising star of Paldea, actually beat Leon, the unbeatable champion? It's a clash of generations and a test of strength versus strategy. By the end of it, we'll have our answer. Before we can even talk about this fight though, we have to understand what makes Leon so dominant. It's not just that he has a ridiculously strong Charizard, which he does, but Leon's whole identity as a trainer is built on overwhelming power, perfect fundamentals, and most importantly, the fact that he can adapt to just about anything. His journey to the top was, on its own, kind of legendary. He was undefeated in official Pokemon battles in Galar, and that turned him into kind of a living myth in the region. And that's not just a title, it's a psychological weapon. Opponents step into the field, already thinking they're facing an impossible task. But let's look at the tools he uses. For this battle, we're using his champion team from the Pokemon Sword and Shield games. First up, it's his ace, his partner since he was a kid, Gigantamax Charizard. And this isn't just any Charizard. Its signature move, G-Max Wildfire, is a massive powerhouse, and also deals damage over time to any non-fire type, and completely can change the battle in a single turn. Leon's more than just his Charizard. His supporting cast, his other Pokemon, are what make him so terrifying. He's got Aegislash, which can switch between an unbreakable defensive tool and a fearsome offensive tool, making it a strategic nightmare to predict when he's going for those King Shields. Then there's Dragapult, which is a pseudo-legendary and one of the fastest Pokemon in existence, built to control the pace of the match right from the beginning, if you manage to take down that Aegislash. His team also features powerhouses like Haxorus, Dragon-type with Mold Breaker, which lets it ignore any of your defensive abilities, and his own Rillaboom, a physical attacker which can set up grassy terrain to bolster its own moves. Finally, he's got the ground rock Rhyperior, a Pokemon with a solid rock ability which also allows it to nullify the 4x weaknesses that kind of plague it. For this match, I've been using Leon's strongest team, highest base stat total of 540, to use against Nemona. This is a team built for high-level balanced combat, ready to take on nearly any opponent. Now let's turn to the challenger. It's important to state that Nemona hasn't actually appeared in the Masters 8 tournament, so this is a hypothetical matchup using their game teams rather than the anime. But her battle style is a reflection of her personality. She's relentless, she's aggressive, she's almost ferocious in the most positive way. She's always on the attack, constantly applying pressure and trying to overwhelm her opponent. That's just her personality. And since she hasn't been in the anime tournament, we have to build a team based on her champion battle in the Scarlet and Violet games. I'm assuming her ace is Meowscarada with a Terra Grass type. Grass Dark type, incredibly fast, has the signature move Flower Trick. Always results in a critical hit, which means even if Leon tries to boost his defenses, it's gonna ignore that. It's a perfect move for a trainer looking to punch holes in defensive lines, which Nemona absolutely loves to. Her team is rounded out by a squad of diverse and powerful attackers, not quite as strong as Leon's, but pretty strong. She's got Pawmot, the electric fighting type, which brings the incredibly rare and powerful move Revival Blessing, which can bring a fainted teammate back into a 6v6 match. However, Nemona's Pawmot does not use Revival Blessing, and for this match, I'm actually going to be using their teams and movesets from when you face them in their respective champion final matches. She's also got Lycanroc for pure rock type with speed and aggression, and Earthworm, a Steel type with Earth Eater, the ability that actually turns its ground type weakness into a ground type immunity that can let it gain back some health. For special attacking power, she's got a Gudra, bulky pseudo-legendary of her own that can take hits and dish out massive damage. Lastly, she also has her Dunsparce. Her Dunsparce is powerful, but not unbeatable, but it does soak up some physical hits and can hit pretty hard as well. But that's not all Nemona has. She has something that Leon has no formal experience with. Her real trump card, Terastallization. Only used in the Paldea region, lets a Pokemon change type mid-battle. It's not just a power-up like Dynamax, it's a strategic shift. Can be used to turn a weakness into a resistance, or to double down on your own Pokemon's strength, unleashing an attack that's even stronger than your opponent was expecting. It's a bluff, a pivot, and an offensive boost all in one, and it's the single biggest weapon in Nemona's arsenal, assuming she uses it correctly. So now we have our two combatants. We've got Leon, the strategic monarch with a versatile team and the explosive power of his Gigantamax, and Nemona, who's an aggressive prodigy with a team built for pressure and changing the game with her Terastallization. It really is experience versus revolution. Leon knows the pressure of a stadium with millions of people watching. He's the master of single 6v6, knowing when to sacrifice a Pokemon and when to go for the win. Nemona is a little bit more of an agent of chaos. She's aggressive, which could put Leon on the back foot, preventing him from establishing his rhythm. Leon's used to controlling the pace, but Nemona's whole strategy is not to let him have pace at all. A lot of people would think that the core of this battle would come down to their two signature mechanics, Gmax versus Terastallization. Gigantamax is like a sledgehammer. It's a 3-turn timer of massive power, doubles your HP, and unleashes powerful moves like Gmax Wildfire, and Leon's Charizard actually has amazing coverage moves as well. It's incredibly deadly, and 3 turns of pressure can actually get you the win when your opponent is in a bad situation. Terastallization though, well, that's more like a scalpel. It requires some finesse. Use it at the wrong time and you've wasted it. But use it correctly, and you can turn something that could have been a guaranteed knockout against your team into a counterplay that sets you up for the rest of the match. If Nemona uses her Terastallization at the right time, she could actually turn the tide of the battle. So that leads us to the central question. Is Leon's team stronger? Yes. But could Nemona's strategy and team building actually lead her to win this match? So we've broken down the trainers and their tools. Before we get into the actual match itself, where I'm going to be simulating the match between Nemona and Leon, let me know in the comments, who do you think has the edge? Is it going to be Leon or Nemona? And while you're down there, if you're enjoying the breakdown, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive. Alright, now let's get into the battle. Now for this battle, we are going to be using the in-game teams, as I've said, and we are also going to be playing it by normal core game series mechanics, because the anime is too far out there to actually be able to call. Anyone can beat anyone, given the day. A Pikachu could lose to a Snivy, and we know how anime logic works. So we're going to be doing this by game logic. Leon's going to be playing as you face him in the final of the Challenger Cup, using that team and sending out those Pokemon in that order. First thing he's going to send out is his Aegislash. Like we said, incredible defensive and offensive tool. Leon isn't much for King Shielding though, so let's see what Nemona can do to actually break through this. Well, Nemona has two options. Her starter, Meowscarada, if she tethers it to a grass type, is one option, as it'll be able to deal with Aegislash using its Shadow Claw, and Aegislash doesn't really have any way to deal with a pure grass type. Its Sacred Sword will do damage, but not as much as when Meowscarada was part dark type. However, I think a better option would be to save Meowscarada and actually use her Pawmot first. In its shield form, Double Shock can do almost half to Aegislash, and after tanking a Sacred Sword or Shadow Ball, neither of which should one-hit KO, a second Double Shock to Aegislash's Blade form will take Aegislash out. Obviously it depends on how good Leon is with King Shield, but with Pawmot not being good against the rest of Leon's team except his Charizard, which outspeeds and will KO it with 2 max moves, where Pawmot can only get off 1 Double Shock which can't KO Gigantamax Charizard, Pawmot is best used to take out Aegislash here. Best case scenario, it does it and survives with about 40% of its health intact. Leon's gonna send out his Dragapult. Now, assuming we're playing this on set mode, Nemona can try and attack with her Pawmot because nothing's really taking a hit from Dragapult that well, except that she does have an answer, the Dunsparce. Dragapult's Ghost typing makes it immune to the Dunsparce's Hyper Drill, but its Ghost-type moves also can't be used against the Dunsparce, making its Shadow Ball useless. Its other moves can't do more than 25% to the Dunsparce. Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, and Dragon Breath aren't doing any more than 24 point something percent. Trust me, I ran the calcs. And Dragon Rush or Drill Run from the Dunsparce will outdamage the Dragapult and get Nemona the win. So Pawmot's still alive, and the Dunsparce has taken some hits, but it's also still there. Leon's down 2 Pokemon. Next, Haxorus. And again, Nemona actually does have a perfect counter here. In her Earthworm, it resists Haxorus' Dragon Stab, resists Iron Tail, is immune to Poison Jab, and Earth Eater turns its weakness to Earthquake into gaining back HP. If the Dunsparce is still out there, most likely Outrage is coming. I think Nemona just lets the Dunsparce go down to bring in Earthworm safely. On the chance of 3-hit KOing, I ran the calcs. Haxorus is not taking Earthworm out in 3 hits, even with Outrage landing 3 hits. Earthworm guaranteed 3-hit KOs with Iron Tail. Haxorus is down, and Earthworm still survives. Next comes Rillaboom though, and I think again, Earthworm goes down here. So the Dunsparce is down, Earthworm's down. Goodra comes back out for Nemona. Dragon type resists Rillaboom's Stab Grass, but in fact, Nemona's Goodra has Sap Sipper, meaning it's totally immune to Grass-type moves. Ice and Poison coverage on the Goodra in the form of Ice Beam and Sludge Bomb means that Goodra will take a couple of hits, but ultimately gets the win with more than 50% HP. In comes Rhyperior. And Goodra can go on here with Muddy Water, but I think the best thing for Nemona to do is bring in Meowscarada. It actually does tank a hit pretty well, and then Terragrass Flower Trick. At this point, this is where Nemona Terastallizes against Rhyperior, because non-terastallized Flower Trick actually doesn't one-hit KO Rhyperior even with that critical hit. So Terragrass Flower Trick allows her to take out the Rhyperior in one hit after taking a little bit of damage and drawing out that G-Max Charizard. Now we've gotten to the last part of this battle, that G-Max Charizard. And honestly, it looks like G-Max versus Terastallization. Who's gonna win? Leon's Charizard or Nemona's Meowscarada? Well, if you look at it on paper, there's only one clear answer. Charizard just wins. Nemona cannot OHKO this Charizard with her Meowscarada, which is why she's not gonna try. All she does is, she switches out into the Pawmot that was still alive from earlier, stalling out the first turn of Charizard's G-Max and allowing her a safe switch into Lycanroc. Lycanroc is the answer to Charizard here, because even in its G-Max form, a Stone Edge from Lycanroc will deal more than Charizard's full HP, and Lycanroc does outspeed. So Nemona goes for the Stone Edge. If it hits, well that's it. It's over. Leon loses the match. But if it misses, which Stone Edge warrants, it does miss sometimes, Leon is still going to lose. Let me explain how. G-Max Wildfire takes out Lycanroc. Out comes Nemona's next Pokemon, Goodra. Nothing in Leon's moveset can do more than neutral damage to Goodra. G-Max Wildfire is resisted. Max Overgrowth is resisted. The only 2 moves he's got are Max Airstream and Max Rockfall. Goodra gets off a Muddy Water, which means that Charizard is already weakened. And at the end of that turn, the Gigantamax ends, which means all that's left is Charizard and Meowscarada. At that point, Nemona's Meowscarada does have a coverage move, and it does outspeed Leon's Charizard. One Thunder Punch will do almost 60% of Charizard's health, taking out the Charizard and leaving Nemona with the win. Again, if that Stone Edge hits, she wins. But even if it doesn't, she wins. So, could Nemona beat Leon? Well, from what I've checked and what I've calculated, she could. It would be a difficult battle. She would need to actually be willing to sacrifice the right Pokemon at the right time, and it would still come down to an 80% for her to get the definitive victory, but there is a second path to victory as well. Leon's team are powerhouses, but using Terastallization at the right time, soaking up the right hits, and sacking the right Pokemon means that Nemona can take the win here. Leon's Gigantamax is raw power, but Nemona's Terastallization used at the right time also allows her to pick up a strategic KO and then still whittle down the Dynamax turns, which she wouldn't want to do. Honestly, Nemona would be much better served waiting to bring out her Lycanroc until after Charizard has finished its Dynamax, because at that point, Charizard's best move is going to be using Solar Beam, which takes 2 turns, or 1 if the sun is up, but G-Max Wildfire doesn't set up the sun. So Lycanroc would guaranteed KO Charizard outside of its Dynamax. But we know Nemona. Nemona is not going to want to do that. She wants to take out this Charizard at the peak of its power. She would absolutely go head-to-head with that Titan, and I think in this case, she wins. In this Clash of the Titans, this hyper-offensive exchanging of moves, Nemona is going to be able to do something that actually does net her the title of Strongest Trainer. She dethrones Leon. She beats the unbeatable king. Obviously, this outcome is based on my speculation, running the calcs, and her using her team in a specific way, but if Nemona fought Leon, there is a chance she would win. In fact, she has a really, really good chance of winning. What do you think? Do you agree with the outcome? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think would have changed? Do you think Leon would have won? Do you think Nemona could actually, in the anime, go through and win the Masters 8 tournament if she was there instead of Ash? Do you think she'd even have made the finals? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time.